What has been on the national news for several days now, you've probably seen the visuals, and thankfully we have a good outcome from it because unfortunately a lot of times we do not. But probably saw that small plane that was carrying a family of 4 that had crash landed Sunday night on a residential street in Pembroke Pines. It was going to North Perry Airport. And happy to report that everybody escaped with just minor injuries, and now they've identified everybody that was on board. The pilot was Carlos Balza Cardenas, 58-year-old. He said the engine just lost thrust during landing. I don't know anything about being a pilot, but that doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, it doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah, and you can see it hitting the tree, and maybe that helped break the fall so it didn't go directly in. It, hits branches and leaves, and then it kind of knocked it down. And it was amazing the people that were on that street, what they did to rush out and pull the 4 people out of the plane. They had garden hose and fire extinguishers and doing everything when it burst into flames to put out the fire.
It feels like they were ready. And I think there's been other crashes coming in and out of that airport. And I can remember when I was a young girl growing up in New Orleans, the airport in New Orleans is in a little town called Kenner. And when I was very young, there was a very bad, big plane crash of a big commercial jet that fell, and everybody died. People in the houses died. But I remember thinking, man, I'm so glad I don't live in Kenner.
Yeah.
Because right there where the planes take off and crash is where the plane crashed. And
Right.
I was like, ooh, I would be nervous if I lived right near the airport. I can remember thinking that as a young girl. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I live miles and miles away from that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because there are so many of those small commuter airports all throughout South Florida, whether it be Lantana or North Palm. They just seem to have them all over the place.
But if you're
These
right
little
there
airports, and
in the flight plan.
right, because you have with a lot of these planes too, they seem to have mechanical issues and things like this where the engine loses thrust during the landing. Yeah, if you're on that street or close to it, then you might have planes all the time crashing into your house or your trees or things like that.
Well, think about it. Like, we have old cars out on the road and those break down. Some of these planes are old. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
if you have just the pilot checking it out and looking at it and going, oh yeah, everything looks good, and he's not in there like mechanically inspecting every inch of it each and every flight.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, just with, like you're saying, things are old.
Things are old. And I just rode on a private plane not too long ago, and I was like, okay, this is obviously a plane from the 90s or maybe the 80s. Like, I wonder how frequently this thing gets open the hood, look under in everything, look in this, look in that.
Yeah.
Like, are they fully going through every inch of the mechanics and the engine before every flight? Probably not.
Right. And they even have that on commercial airliners where there's issues that we're always seeing happening where, I don't know, the door flies off or something like that in mid-flight. And those things are heavily regulated and tested.
Right. And inspected.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Way more than the small planes. That's for darn sure.
I guess. I don't know what the protocol is, but I do know the mayor there in Pembroke Pines, Angelo Castillo, he had called for a safety review at the airport. He said there have been 36 incidents in 5 years, but county officials are reporting fewer, so there's a little bit of a discrepancy on that. But the one thing that you can't ignore is if it affects you personally. And on Inside Edition, they had Megan Bishop there from Pembroke Pines. She lost her 4-year-old son in one of those crashes, and she was talking about her fears of it and the need for changes in Pembroke Pines with this airport.
When you're a mom and you lose your child, you lose yourself.
When you heard the news of this latest crash, what did that feel like?
My whole body just shuts down. It's crazy. All I did was just cry because I don't want any parent to experience what I went through, but unless there's change, another parent will go through what I went through.
So I don't know.
Terrible.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, because I think a lot of these airports, likely what has happened here in South Florida, is they were constructed and they were in areas that weren't as heavily populated. And for instance, I look at just, around in Lantana, place like that, where now all of a sudden you've got strip malls and then housing communities and everything else popping up, and you've got these small little planes that are coming in and landing, in a sense, in the heart of some neighborhoods.
Right.
And that is a little disconcerting. I believe, for some people. So I don't know what the answer is. Do you have to close all those airports and move them all out west? But then who's to say that they're not going to be grown up around later? So I don't know. Yeah, I got one text says I live next to the Pompano Airport, and there is a flight school where people are practicing taking off and landing over and over all day, even at night. And I just think about it all day long. What if the person who's training blows it?
And that happens.
Yeah.
Think about when you were learning how to drive a car. You blew it. I know I blew it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit more intense when it's a plane.
And Anna, who says, I live right by the Lantana private airport. I think about it all the time. At the end of the day, what am I going to do if something happens? And
see, those people were ready. They were ready. They think about it all the time. And it's something to consider if you're buying a home.
Right.
Do you really want to be obsessed with the thought of what could happen?
well, and it's something I think for all of us to consider as well. Should we have new regulations, or should we reconsider these airports in the locations where they are and say, if we're going to do this safely, we really can't have student pilots trying to take off and land, in a sense, inside of a neighborhood, which is what a lot of them are here in South Florida. So I don't know if this latest incident will bring about any changes there to North Perry Airport or any of the other ones that we have in South Florida, but it's definitely something to consider and think about.